One time. What's up guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're playing some more 2-4, and yeah, as you can see by the title, we did not play well. We made many mistakes, but yeah, remember to like, comment and subscribe, especially subscribing. It will help the channel out. Let's get into it. Welcome back everyone. We're starting off with a stack of 300, playing 5-handed. We look down at 6-7 of clubs in the small blind. A bit of backstory is needed for this one. When dealing, the king of spades was flipped over, but the player who it was dealt to, Carvin, decided to keep this card and basically play with one card face up. I do not recommend this in the slightest, unless you have kings or maybe even ace king, and even then you should probably be raising extremely large pre-flop or even just shoving so opponents can't outplay you post-flop with them knowing pretty much what you have. In this case, I'm not putting him on such a strong range. Just based off the exchange, it seems like he could have many holdings of king x, so I'm not too worried. With that being said, everyone limps to me in the small blind, including Carvin, and I decide this is a good time to squeeze with my suited connectors to $25. Although it's likely someone will call me at this table, I still need to throw in some marginal hands whilst doing this action so opponents can't put me on the strongest hands available every time, so I feel like this is a good spot to do it. Well, it folds around to Carvin in the cutoff, and he is the only one who makes the call, so we're off to the flop knowing one of our opponent's whole cards. It comes ace, deuce, ace, rainbow. All in all, a pretty good flop for king high hands. He should be ahead quite a bit of the time and we don't connect at all. We check out a position and he checks back pretty quickly. The turn comes the 3 of diamonds, pretty much a break. In my mind, he swaps his king for another card if he had king deuce or king 3, so I'm eliminating him holding a deuce or a 3 here. That means in this scenario, if I put enough pressure on, the only hands that should be calling me are ace king and kings, of which are probably quite unlikely. It's more likely he has a hand like king jack or king queen. Yes, a hand like king jack or king queen may call me down, but it's still possible I can get him off a hand like that with a high frequency. With the action on me, I bet a really small sizing of $12. Looking back, I'd like to go a bit larger to around third pot, but I'm trying to represent either an ace or a pocket pair, attempting to get value from king high. As mentioned, I do this with a lot of my stronger holdings, and if he calls, which I'm expecting him to and planning on it, my plan is to overbet the river to maybe 2x the pot, knowing it's going to put his king high holdings in a torturous spot, with him probably having to make the fold. Well, now he does something really unexpected. He raises to $40. It just seems really weird to me, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is why you do not play with a card exposed. What can he have that warrants a check raise here? If he has ace king, there's only one ace left for me to have, and he'd probably want to call to let me to stack off on the river if I'm bluffing. Kings would make somewhat sense if he's putting me on a smaller pocket pair, and it just makes no sense for king high to raise here, as it already has enough showdown value. There's no reason for him to raise. No hands better than his are calling that raise that he makes. Overall, I'm just really confused as to what he could have. Kings probably would make the most sense, but it's one holding out of the many he could have. For that reason, I put him to the test. I re-raised to $120. I'm not really representing a pocket pair anymore, and now just an ace x holding. I can definitely have many aces in my range, raising so large pre-flop, and our opponent now goes into the tank. As he's thinking for so long, I feel as though I can rule out ace king or kings, and I'm putting him in the dreaded spot I hope for with a king high holding. After a few minutes, he mucks his cards, later telling me he had king 8, so yeah, our plan worked here. We get through our first bluff of the day. Hand number 2 begins with me picking up 5-7 of spades in the cutoff. I open to 12 and we get the buttons, small blind and big blind to make the call. The flop comes jack queen ace rainbow, smashing my opening range, although looking back, if I did have a stronger holding, I'd open larger, as with a sizing of 12 pre-flop, I know I'm going to get multiple callers at this table. For this reason, my whole play for the rest of the hand is pretty bad, and I don't like it at all. When the small blind and big blind check, I bet 25 into 4 people for the pure reason that this board texture favors me more than them. Yeah, you can tell it's going to be an interesting day today. If you haven't noticed it yet guys, I woke up in a bluffing mood. I do manage to knock out one player, with only the button and small blind making the call. The turn comes the 4 of hearts, an absolute brick, and when the small blind checks, I decide to double barrel, doubling down on my strategy. I bet $70. As soon as I made this bet, I regretted it. I'm putting them both on some sort of queen or jack holding, so now I'm essentially committing myself to a river shove if one of them calls, as they may be able to fold most one pair holdings if I do that. I regretted this bet because I'm facing the one and only Mr. Overcall, otherwise known as Sam. Not many more players need to give a nickname to, But yes, the player in the button is notorious for calling people down with bottom pair, middle pair, nothing, you name it, he'll call. After tanking for around 2 minutes, Sam actually makes the fold, which I'm surprised about, as I might have expected a call here with a jack or a queen. Now onto the small blind, Mateo, otherwise known as the tanker, and yes, he gives us the full treatment. After watching another player tank for 2 minutes, he needs to get in the limelight himself. He waits until Sam is folded to tank for another 3 minutes. Fortunately, he does make the fold, and to my absolute shock, Mr. Overcall shows ace 5. Folding top pair. I'm not gonna lie, I was extremely impressed at this moment in time. Although Sam was stacked multiple times during this session, his play was much improved in my opinion, so yeah, maybe we'll have to watch out for him in the future. We bluff and win the second pot of the day. On to the next one, we pick up ace 4 of spades in the small blind. Under the gun limps, and I decide to open the action to $17. This isn't enough for the big blind and under the gun player, who both make the call. The flop comes king deuce deuce 2 clubs. Although I'm out of position, it's a board I should be c-betting on a large percentage of the time. My ace high could also very well be good here, so I'd technically be betting for value. I bet 17, and only the big blind makes the call. The turn comes the 3 of spades, giving us a gut shot, but we still have enough showdown value as it is. I decide on a bet of $25, which is just really dumb here. First of all, it's a tiny bet. Second, I paid no attention to stack sizes, as the big blind rips it in for $78, so yeah, a massive punt on our part, an extremely bad play. There's just 0 point trying to bluff or semi-bluff in this case someone this short stacked, and now we're just forced to donate $53 more to the pot. The pot is 188, we have good enough odds. If he has a king, we need to hit a 5 or an ace to suck out, but yeah. The river comes the 6 of hearts, we brick out, and that's the second bad play of the day. We really aren't playing well at all.
Even though every single video I say I should look at people's stacks, I do not do so.
Unfortunately, I forgot to record the cards for this hand. It happened in hand 1 too, and the next one is actually the same. I don't really know what happened, but yeah. I have ace 7 offsuit, and I'm in the cutoff. Under the gun limps, I open to 14, and only under the gun makes the call. The flop is beautiful. It comes 5, ace 7, 2 spades. We hit top 2 pair. It's even better when our opponent donk leads into us for 15. I think about this spot for quite a while, but he's known to bluff, and he is very likely to continue barreling on the turn, so I just make the call and slow play this one. The turn comes the king of diamonds, a great card, no draws get there, and it's a brick card on this board texture. Our opponent now leads into us again for $44. We block sets of aces and 7s, so maybe he could have 5s, but still this line looks really weird. I think now it's just time to pull the trigger, raise it up knowing that we're good here most of the time. We decide to raise to 120, although once again I made the mistake of not looking at stack sizes. It's something that's really costing me at the moment, and yeah. After this bet, I have 61 behind, so I should have just shoved to polarize my range. Now it looks just so value heavy with me leaving so little behind. However, our opponent rips it in pretty quickly. At a normal table, I'd just be crushed here every single time, but since it's against Mr. Min Raise, I'm almost definitely ahead. I snap him off for 61 extra. He has me covered and we're off to a run out. The river comes, the 5 of diamonds, let's hope he doesn't have trips. He mucks his cards, later telling us he had a 7, so yeah, not too sure about that one. We bring this pot down. Once again, I've managed to not record the cards. I have no idea what's going on, but yeah, we get a premium, ace queen of hearts on the button, we're playing 4-handed now, and I open up the action to $12. It doesn't take long for the big blind to toss in a 3-bet of $40 and action folds back to me. This is a spot where if I was more deep stacked, I might like a 4-bet. My hand has a lot of playability and I do block queens and aces, which are really strong. I actually think about this spot for a while. I'm not too sure what I should be doing here. I have around 400 in my stack, so somewhat shallow, and if I 4-bet here, I'd like to choose a pretty small sizing, something like 2.2 or 2.3x the 3-bet. In the end, I decide to just flat, mainly because I'm putting the big blind on a more polarized range, in the sense of he either has a really strong hand, like extremely strong, or he's 3-betting me extremely light trying to squeeze. If you want me to get a good flop, I want you to subscribe right now. Click that subscribe button. I'm only going to get a good flop here if you subscribe. I'll give you some time to do it now. The flop comes 6 deuce ace 2 hearts. I can see that you all subscribed. The poker gods have delivered. What a flop for us in a 3-bet pot. On an ace-high board that's pretty dry, I'd expect the pre-flop aggressor to bet. However, he checks, maybe showing some signs of weakness, I'm not sure. Or he might just have aces in this case, but I think we have the board way too locked up here to bet. I don't really get value from pocket pairs or maybe some ace-x worse than ours, so I check back for deception. Well, my day keeps getting better because we turn the nuts, it comes the jack of hearts. It gets even better when our opponent delayed c-bets into us for $20. The sizing is tiny, I definitely have to raise. I don't know what I'm doing here because I just raised it up to $40 on the day. This just isn't the best play. Maybe I'm representing the ace of hearts, which I do have, but even that would want to go bigger. My thinking at this time was that I have this board really so locked up, so what can you really have that can call? That's why I bet so small. However, he does make the call and we're off to a river. The river comes the dreaded fourth heart, the 9 of hearts. Our slow playing tactics have gone out the window. We still have the nuts, but he's unlikely to call down anything here, especially considering we block all the high hearts. He could have a heart as part of a pocket pair, with the best case scenario being pocket kings obviously, with the king of hearts. What is good is that he leads out for $70 on the river. I tank for a while now, I know I have the nuts, but what sizing do I raise to that will make him call? In my mind, it's either really small or an overbet jam of 320. The small sizing would be targeting hands like pocket 8s through kings where he has one heart in those holdings, and the large sizing would literally just be targeting the king of hearts specifically. I end up min-raising the river again. My line looks really weird, and in my head, if I raise to 140, he's just going to shove with the king of hearts anyway, so I'll get the same desired outcome as shoving 320 and him calling. Unfortunately, he snap folds showing ace king of diamonds, and wow. We were actually behind on the flop when we missed some huge value on the turn by raising so small. My decision to not 4-bet pre-flop was actually the right one in a long-term decision-making process. However, for this specific hand, with the way the board ran out, if I had 4-bet, I'm pretty sure it would have gone all in on the flop and we would have sucked out to win a massive $800 pot. Overall, we probably make close to the minimum considering the context of the hand, but oh well. Congratulations to me, I finally remembered to record my hand. We pick up a fun one. 9-10 of hearts in the small blind, under the gun opens it up to 12. The button snap 3-bets it to 40. I can be 4-betting with this specific hand at a low frequency, but not at this table, especially not 4-handed because it's such a loose game, so I just make the call. Under the gun folds and we're heads up to a flop. It comes queen 9 2 diamonds. All in all a decent flop. He probably thinks a lot of his ace-high hands are still good, so I think this is a good spot to donk lead. It may confuse him and my 9 needs protection. I bet 30. This is a big mistake. This video seems to be full of me making mistakes, but I like to use a smaller sizing on dry or paired flops as less of his range should be willing to call. But in this scenario, my 9 needs way too much protection and 30 is just too small. He does make the call and we're off to a turn. The turn comes the jack of hearts, giving us an open-ended straight flush draw. Well, that's an interesting card. I'm not too sure what to do now. There's no need for me to bluff. I already have a lot of showdown value, I'm just not sure. I check and the button bets 20. It's a blocker bet and now I'm just really confused. What do I do here? I'd really like to see a solver's analysis of this one, but in my mind I'm thinking if I raise, if he does have a queen, he's just ripping it in for around 300 total. Even if he doesn't have a queen and he rips it all in, I don't really get the needed odds to call. I'll probably have to fold because right now I only have a 9 pair. He could have an overpair, a queen, even a jack, many things that beat me. For that reason, with my showdown value, with my strong draw, I just make the call for 20. Let me know down in the comments what you do here because I'm just not sure. The river comes the 7 of spades, we brick out but still have a 9 pair. We check, trying to get to showdown, and now the button bets $50. I'm getting 5 to 1 odds here, meaning I just have to win this pot 17% of this time. Usually I'd be snapping this off, given the good odds, as well as our opponent being Mr. Minraise. For those of you who don't know him, he's extremely susceptible to bluffing. This specific time though, I just get a psychological read, I'm not too sure what, but the way he's talking, the way he's looking at his chips, I just get the feeling he's strong, so I make an extremely exploitative fold in this scenario. And apparently he had a 7 pair, so completely wrong. I'm not too sure he was telling the truth, but he seems to think he is, and that he did have a 7 pair, so yeah, we got bluffed in the weirdest way. We end the session losing some chips. Thanks for watching guys. As you saw, we made many mistakes today. It was not our finest performance. However, we did make a net gain. We were in for 300, out for 372, meaning there was a total net gain of $72. We actually had a stack of around 650 at the end. We just bled a lot, so yeah, it just sometimes is like that in poker. We can't do anything about that. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, especially subscribing. And yeah, peace.